Welcome everybody, I'm Hunter Z Eastman. Could you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? We're so close to 100 subscribers, and it would be nice to see that 80 turn into 100. Today, I'm gonna offer up a little movie recommendation because you might be bored, stuck in the house, looking for something new to watch, but you're just not sure what to sit down to because there's so many options. Out of those many options, I would go ahead and say you would not be disappointed by watching I Care a Lot on Netflix. It's been talked about for a while, and I haven't really got around to it. But I finally did, and I was not disappointed. It was a pretty original story. The characters were captivating. It stars Rosamund Pike, who, if you don't know, starred in Gone Girl, which is another great movie, and it appears she's found her niche for acting, and that is playing the role of the psychopath because, well, she does it so well. I do enjoy movies that make the psychopath the main character in the story they're telling, because it not necessarily makes you sympathize with them, but it just makes you look at them in a different way. Because when you think of psychopaths or serial killers, people who do bad things, you're not really in their shoes. You don't really know how they operate or think. And to see a writer or director interpret that for themselves is just an interesting experience. And going off of that, not necessarily the movie, but the character that Rosamund Pike plays reminded me a bit of Christian Bale in American Psycho, which is another good movie. I would give that a watch if you have the time. Pike's character is downright just, I don't know what words to use to describe this person, but she is a horrible human being. Like the worst of the worst. Her character is a guardian to old people who can no longer take care of themselves. So maybe someone has dementia, Alzheimer's, things of that nature, and they just genuinely can no longer take care of them. They either have no family to take care of them, or their family doesn't want to take care of them. A judge appoints a guardian to them, and that guardian can basically do whatever the fuck they want to that old person. Pike's character figured out a way to exploit that flaw in the system, and she is a guardian for these old people, but she does not operate in their best interests. She operates in her best interests, and she just ends up taking advantage of these old people. And not even just take advantage, it's fucked up. She doesn't find someone who actually has dementia or Alzheimer's and is like, well, they're gonna die anyways, no one cares about them, I'm just gonna take their money, which is still an awful thing to do. She would go out of her way to make these scenarios happen, and that's kind of what sets this movie off, because she does what she always does, which is get a doctor who she pays off to write a letter. She'll just go into the office and be like, so do you guys have anyone who's kind of showing memory loss, that they can't take care of themselves? Like mild symptoms, not like, oh yeah dude, they're shitting themselves, they can't make food anymore, yada yada yada, like the list goes on of shit old people can't do. It'll just be like, oh, she just like forgot to go to this one appointment, and Pike's character's like, oh, okay, doctor, could you write me a letter for this perfectly capable old person that I need to be their guardian so I can take all of their possessions, I can take all of their money and use it to my benefit. Meanwhile, the rest of this old person's life is just going to be spent in misery. Because what happens, what kind of sets this story off, is she ends up doing, again, what she always does, to this one individual who was not the right old lady to fuck with. She has some connections, and without going into too much detail, Pike just shouldn't have fucked with this old lady. She picked the wrong one. And so when things start escalating, when when an antagonist comes in and starts messing with Pike's plan, what she does to this old woman is basically, I mean, just straight up torture her. She tells the person who runs the nursing home to set her on a diet of only liquids. Only let her outside for like 30 minutes a day. Don't let her watch TV. Don't let her talk to anybody. I'm not giving out a totally accurate list, but the list was long and the list was awful. It was to the degree of what they would do back in the day to like get intel from foreign soldiers or something to see what the fuck they were doing. It was like that kind of shit, but she was doing it to an old woman for no reason other than the fact that she might possibly not get all of her money anymore. The character that does come in is played by Peter Dinklage, and he did a really good job in the film. He does in most of his work. He's another good actor. And I mean, just overall, the movie was extremely dark. I mean, it was kind of depressing. I'd say like the first half of it, because just seeing what her character does to old people was just fucking awful. And not a lot of films really do that for me, where they actually make me feel like a genuine human emotion. Like it's just so intense, and it's kind of easy to get happy or laugh when you're watching a movie, but to actually get like sad or anxious from a movie is crazy to me. And I think some other good examples of movies that do that, or that do that at least for me, are some films by Ari Aster, Hereditary, Midsommar. They just produce this extreme anxiety while you're watching these films, because they're just so intense. The emotion is raw. Everything just feels so human. It's not really a movie you're watching. I mean, you are. It's just a story. It's made up. But they direct it in such a way that makes it feel real. It makes it feel like you're there, like you're part of the scene and what those characters are going through. And in this film and in those films, what those characters are going through are just absolutely horrible. I think a good example of that in I Care a Lot is the scene where the old woman is brought into the nursing home, and she kind of starts realizing what is happening, and she's just extremely lost. She has no idea what to do. They took her cell phone away from her. I mean, her life has just been completely upended. She was just having breakfast, being retired, thinking she was gonna read like a fucking book or go play bingo or some shit, and this woman just comes into her life and is like, hey, you actually need to go live in this nursing home because I got a doctor to write a false letter saying that you have like Alzheimer's or something. So you're gonna come with me and I'm gonna take all of your shit. And so yeah, she gets into this nursing home and figures all of that out. And she's walking through the nursing home, and a bunch of people are talking to her, and she just doesn't hear the words. And the faces get kind of blurry. It reminded me a lot of the scene from The Graduate, where his family, I believe it's his birthday party, and all of his family are there, and they're forcing him to do something he just doesn't want to do, like he's embarrassed about it, and everyone's talking at him, they're in his face, he's already like anxious and embarrassed, he doesn't want to be there, and meanwhile everyone is just piling on top of him. And you see them, but you can tell that he just doesn't care that they're there. Their voices are silent. He's clearly just in his own head, fucking depressed, lost, as that old woman was. And it just really captures that emotion of being somewhere you don't want to be. And that's all I have to say about that. There's much more I would like to talk about and could talk about, but I don't want to spoil the movie, but I would highly recommend you guys watch it. It's a nice, dark piece of cinema, and I would definitely recommend it. Netflix has the occasional banger, and I've got to say, this one banged. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button so we can make 100 subs, and go ahead and hit that like button as well. And as always, I will see you next time. And I mean, if you want to know when you're going to see me, you can turn on that notification bell. Peace out.